So, after I put out my crazy Irish love traditions video last week, I threw it out to the guys over on Instagram and asked if they wanted to see crazy American love traditions. And I live to give. What was interesting in researching this was that it was a lot harder to come up with American traditions because America is so shiny new compared with Ireland. A lot of these traditions have evolved only very so slightly and still exist today. And because America is iconic in the sense that we watch a lot of movies and TV shows and stuff from America, a lot of these things have filtered to us in Ireland and across Europe. But looking at their weird origins is definitely something that I found pretty fascinating. Please God, remember this is a list and it's not true of every single person everywhere. It's full of generalizations and that's what makes it a list. Before I get into this video, I want to say a massive thank you to the guys whose names are listed in the description. They are part of my squad. They're actually part of a group of very, very important people to this channel overall, as well as being on Patreon. The reason they are so integral to things is that these are the people I talk to once a month. We video chat and they talk to me and I talk back to them and they give me real feedback on what's going on the channel. And if you see them in comments, do say hello. Don't say it like that though, because that's weird. Or do. Weird is good. Alright, let's just go. Coming in at number 10, illegal dating. In 1900, dating could be considered a felony in America, and this was at a time when partnering up with somebody else was considered a way of hiring one's social status primarily. It was actually frowned upon to partner up with somebody out of love. It was considered primal and animalistic and not something that you wanted to happen within your family unit. At the turn of the last century, dating was considered to be quite a suspicious thing, and law enforcement didn't know exactly what was going on with it, but they knew there was something sordid and they didn't quite like it. Here was a fella taking out a girl, buying her food, drinks, cinema tickets, and they were pretty sure something bad was going on. And so for this reason, it was considered a form of prostitution. And so a female could be arrested for it. Not a male though. Interesting that, isn't it? Bummer of a note to start on, but it does get cheerier, I swear. Coming in at number 9, gentlemen callers. As emotions began to progress in society and people became the parents of new young people who were starting to date, it began to be kind of okay for people to match in terms of how much affection they had for each other, as well as where they were in their social standing and how much it would benefit a family. And so a young man who had affection for a lady would wait upon an invitation to come calling, and when he would do so, he would arrive at the house, introduce himself to one's parents, and then they would all kind of sit within earshot and the couple could kind of talk to one another and get to know each other, to actually like each other as human beings. So yay! So initially the couple would have a clean, suitable, definitely non-contact conversation with one another, and if that went well and if the family were happy with it, they might, after a couple of meetups, be allowed to go for a walk together, which was a big deal back in the day. And this led on to a token of affection. Around the 1950s, stuff became a little bit more formal, with all these parents starting to relax their ideas, and this was when some kind of mini commitment was desirable, especially for a female standing in society. The worst thing that could happen to a girl back then was some kind of damage to her reputation, and so a visible symbol of their commitment to one another was desirable. And American guys in the 1950s tended to do this by giving a symbol of their affection, such as a jacket, a Letterman jacket, or a class ring, or carving their names in a tree even, which is kind of cool. And the girl could expect to be taken out on a number of dates and contacted a number of times each week, and this was called going steady. And this kind of high school commitment preceded a pinning, which would happen in university, and a pinning was even more serious than a jacket. And this was because it was a symbol of a guy in a fraternity putting the girl and his affections for her ahead of his brothers in the fraternity, and it was thought to be a pre-engagement thing. Number 7, guardianship of the girl. Back in the day, a woman's body and her self-being wasn't really considered her own, and so a guy would come and traditionally pick her up at her home in America, and at this point the father and the mother could inspect him and see him for the first time. If a guy arranged to meet the girl not at her family home, it was considered to be a huge mark of disrespect. And this was because the father was formally handing over guardianship of her to the boy for a certain period of time.
Get her back by 10 p.m.
Another thing that we'd find kind of strange today was the woman, if they went to a restaurant, would traditionally place her order through the man and not directly with the waitstaff. And this was because the guy was paying for the date, he'd arranged the restaurant, he booked it, and he's paying for her food and the table. And so the woman would have to go through the man in order to order her food. And sometimes he'd even choose what food and drink she'd eat, which just wouldn't work for me, to be honest, because I know what I want to eat, and you better not mess with that, because, you know, I'm a hungry girl. I like to order for myself. The next weird custom Americans birthed for the rest of the world is the idea of pickup lines. Because traditionally courtship was all about a man's pursuit, the idea of a pickup line as an opening dialogue became popularized around the 1950s. The line itself was intended to get the ball rolling, and a woman's role in receiving such a line was to respond modestly yet flattered. As time has gone on, pickup lines have become something of a parody of themselves, and now quite rude lines and things would be more likely to get a laugh than get you an in with a lady. Next up, the Sadie Hawkins dance. A lot of you guys have flagged this one with me in comments. Apparently it originated with a comic strip called Lil Abner. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I've never heard of it. The premise of the cartoon strip was that the girls got to ask the guys out, and that the girls were the people who did everything, and it was all reversed. And in the 1930s, it became a popular thing for school dances to have a theme whereby a girl asked a guy to the school dance, and this was very against the tradition of the guy being in hot pursuit of the female. For teenagers, this was considered really edgy and cool, and so it still exists today as a thing that they do in most high schools. The adult version of this dance does exist in America, and it's called a spinster's dance. Yep. Next up, it's divorce. While people in America who've actually gone through a divorce might disagree, in America it's considered relatively easy to get a divorce compared to here in Ireland, where it takes 4 years of being separated and only then can you apply for a divorce. However, America is not the highest divorce rate in the world. They come in at 46% of marriages ending in divorce. Global media spin would definitely have me believe that's a lot higher, but actually it's only 5th in the world, coming in after Russia, Spain, France and Luxembourg. I had to Google where Luxembourg was, but I don't plan on going there to try and bag me a husband at 87% likelihood of getting divorced. That's not good odds. But oh, America, you do have your own special way of doing things. In 2015, a Manhattan woman legally filed divorce papers via Facebook. Yes, she did it via social media, and that's what makes us love you so much, America. You do things in your own weird way. Number 3, it's sugar daddies and sugar babies. Though the origins of this one could definitely be argued, America has certainly formalized the practice. A sugar daddy can be defined as a rich, usually older man who lavishes gifts on a young woman in exchange for favors. You guys are smart enough to figure out what favors could mean in that arrangement. And while indeed a lot of cultures do practice this, America brought us specialist dating apps and websites for it. And if these websites are to be believed, a good amount of American students, both male and female, put themselves through university using this sugar daddy, sugar baby method. In terms of popular culture, this even became a television show where Hugh Hefner would have an arrangement with younger girlfriends whereby he would do them favors in exchange for being his girlfriends. There is, of course, a very seedy aspect to this, though one could argue it's just an arrangement, but there's a fine line between prostitution, solicitation, and an arrangement. So, yeah, that's that whole world that, yeah. The next one is actually kind of adorable, and I sometimes play around with these things. Superstitions. A lot of love superstitions come from America. Americans have trended the idea of using star signs to match up with people and going to psychics, picking petals off daisies. He loves me not, he loves me, he loves me not, he doesn't exist. One that I find particularly fascinating, and which I basically know everything about from a Friends episode, is the idea of the New Year's kiss. It actually originates from English and German folklore, where the nature of your New Year's kiss and who you kissed set the tone for your love life for the rest of the year. And it was thought if you didn't have a kiss with somebody that you were partnered up with, it would bring you very, very bad luck for the year to come. And if you can't find somebody to kiss on New Year's Eve, the superstition is that you are filled with a year of loneliness. And coming in at number one, the number one crazy love custom that America has in fact birthed to the rest of the world has been Valentine's Day. And like all American traditions, it didn't actually start in America because America is a hot pot of all different cultures, but America took it to the next level. So once upon a time, there was a saint called Martinez, and he was a martyr, and people used to honor him on February the 14th. And around 18th century in England, they had a custom of honoring him by exchanging love letters. But eventually, America took this idea and evolved it into what it is today, a corporate giant. Wait until you hear how much money is spent in America on Valentine's Day every year. It's going to blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you sitting down? Probably.
18.2 billion.
Let me just repeat that because we hear a lot of sensationalistic things on the internet, and I really feel that this one needs dramatic emphasis in order for you to take it into your brain hole.
18.2 billion.
Valentine's Day is big business in America, especially for the card companies like Hallmark. And the reason it's so big is because they actually started in school pretty young. So school kids will generally start out by making Valentine's cards for their moms and their dads and their dogs. Nothing wrong with that. It's very important to show love to the doggies on the Valentine's Day. He wants to leave. I'll let them leave. But as they grow up, they kind of realise that these self-made cards are a bit tat, and they go out and they buy cards from a card company. And as we've mentioned, being a teenager has a lot of emphasis on love in America, and so they try to outdo these cards that they were giving each other in middle school by high school by buying boxes of chocolates and flowers. And then by the time you reach university and on and become an adult, the gestures become even bigger. The average amount a loved up American will spend on their partner on Valentine's Day is approximately. That is crazy. On a day that doesn't really mean anything. Just a reminder, if you are in a relationship and you haven't yet bought your partner something for Valentine's Day, maybe just go get them something. Just go get them a little something small. Chocolate is always a winner. Chocolate is always a winner. And that's it for my list today. If you haven't already and you do like my channel, please subscribe, and then you'll be able to know when I put out videos and you'll be able to participate in the community. It's a whole love fest in comments overall, where I will be for an hour after upload every single day that I release a video. Yeah. And that's it. Bye. Are you getting your toothbrush? Yeah? Here you go. There you go. Honey, that's really loud. Can you just leave it like a few minutes? I'll give you your toothbrush after the video. Is that okay? I'm sorry, it's very noisy. You just sit with me, okay? You just sit with me. I'll give you it after. Nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that. It's very important to show your nothing wrong with that. It's very important to show love to dogs on a Valentine. Now you can have it back. We'll finish the video. You're so good at brushing your teeth.